Hey, it's me. I'm back in the home studio. Sports Stories coming at you live on YouTube. The drought is over. Randy Rosenbloom on the show. Wade Benson may or may not make it. You know, he either gets kicked out or he doesn't show up. One of those two. Never really sure with that guy. We just know we're going to get an explosive interview if he shows up. All right. Back from Chula Vista, back from Cocoa Beach for one day. And then I'll tell you about it later. Let's start the show. I'm a Venice, California-born, Los Angeles-based sports fan. One that has played, coached, announced, and promoted sports my whole life. My love affair with sports started in my own backyard and has led me to this podcast. Thanks to the support of the Amateur Athletic Union in East Bay, I'm excited to bring you Sports Stories with Denny Lennon.
Denny Lennon aims to bring its subscribers interesting, unique, and uplifting stories. You can find us at sportstoriespodcast.com. We drop audio and video podcasts every Thursday and go live on YouTube Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Many guests have shared their stories with host Denny Lennon, such as Super Bowl and BCS champions Brendan Ion Badejo, Peter Boulware, and Trevor Lawrence, three-time Olympic gold medalist Karch Karai, Kentucky Derby winner Doug O'Neill, NCAA champions Toby Bailey and St. John Smith, Hall of Famers Jimmy Lennon Jr., Rudy Tomjanovich, world champions Boom Boom Mancini and Tim Leary, AAU Sullivan Award winners Catherine Plummer, Sabrina Ionescu, and Spencer Lee. We've also had best-selling authors Wesley King and Wayne Coffey, and our Sports Stories favorite, Norm Bass, the first African-American to play two professional sports post-World War II. Become a friend of the show on Patreon, and you can help keep the dream alive. Go to patreon.com/Denny Lennon or go to our website to see all of our social media links. If you have an interesting, unique, or uplifting story to tell, contact us on sportstoriespodcast.com.
Coming to you live from Los Angeles. We're in the shadow of LAX. It's a top-rated video podcast in the Centinela Adobe Corridor. It's where we share a wall with the Korean United Methodist, and you can see St. Jerome Church from our back porch. We're in the 7428 studio where Jimbo and Marley run the show, and Buck kicks back until he's got to kick it out. It's SSDL Live at 5 on YouTube. That's right. We're live at 5. It's the Wednesday Prep to Olympians show. We hope you'll join us. You know, I also want to mention, if you haven't, download the High School Narrative. We're distributing a lot of our stuff there, and we're doing pretty well over there from what I understand. Mo Orr, my buddy, you've seen him on the show. He is also on that app, that channel, so you can jump over there. All right. That said, family, hope you're showing up. We're finally back for a day. Love to have you always. My St. Mark people, my St. Bernard people, my VBCers, and my AAUers. Welcome once again. Let's go over the top 5 states outside of California supporting the show. All right. Texas. Makes sense. A lot of Texas people were with us in both back east in Florida when we were running programming for the AAU back there and out west. Okay, Oregon checking in. They're here probably to watch Wade, who may or may not show. Never know with the depends. Florida checking in. We were just there. Makes sense. Land of Barbara Eden. Tijuana? Huh. Well, it is pretty close to Chula Vista. So Tijuana checking in. I guess they're a state now. You never know what the chief executive's up to. All right. And then our number one, Ohio, always coming strong, supporting the show. Why, you ask? Am I wearing Chargers cap? Well, let's start here. 10 days in Cocoa Beach, right? We did, I think, 2 or 3 shows from there. One show, 2 days, maybe back here in LA, and then was locked down in Chula Vista, doing another 3 shows there while running some more programming. One more back here, and then going back to Escondido, halfway in between, if you will, for another show this Friday, which should be fun. So if I'm in between LA and San Diego, why wouldn't I wear a Chargers hat? I mean, look, they started here in Los Angeles in 1960. I think by 61, they're down in San Diego, and then we ripped them back. You know, the name Chargers, they say, okay, it was owned by like Barron and Conrad Hilton at the time. They say it had to do with the charge. It didn't. They were launching a credit card. They wanted to get subliminal messages about charging. No lie. All right. And then you probably ask yourself, I know you do, East Bank Mountaineers. What does that mean? Well, if you could figure out who went to high school here and who went to college, that's college nickname there, you will know who the next video podcast guest interview is going to be done with. Now, this may not appear for another month or so, but I'm going to be sitting down with the guy who went to this high school and this college, and he'll be the first to take a shot at the newly redesigned backyard basketball court. What do I mean by that? Well, take a look at this. The East Bay 74-28 shootout was so popular. Look at what's happening. You heard that music and you're like, just what kind of studio is that? All right, look, that was, you saw the hoop on the ground. Don't panic. It's going to go back in. Rick Meyer, head of construction. He's well versed in all of this. Very experienced guy. So that's going to go back in. It's even going to be a wider, a more level ground. And this guy, where he went to high school, where he went to college, is going to take the first ever shot as we return to doing the video podcast, because now we can kind of get in front of each other. We kind of got this thing figured out a little bit. We'll be talking more about that in the upcoming weeks. Okay, that's exciting. I think at this time we got to bring up what's up this week. Hey, the Uninterrupted series have been going off, getting thousands and thousands and thousands of watches. So we're going to keep it coming. Jimmy Lennon Jr. is next. He'll be dropped tomorrow. Yep. The world famous ring announcer, Hall of Famer, all kinds of cultural touch points he has been part of. He came here to the studio, took the shot, advanced to the semifinals, if I remember. But you'll get to hear him uninterrupted 90 minutes straight. And then Friday, the happy hour show of record, as mentioned, on the road, Lawrence Welk Resort in Escondido. There he is. Look at that. Oh, there's Adrian. Adrian's been a 56-year veteran of work there. That's Adrian right there. We've known her forever. That's Lawrence Welk. Hopefully you know who that is. Lawrence Welk, of course, and that's Adrian. She runs the joint. Hey, who's going to be my guest? Stephen Irvin, All-American from Stanford University, runner-up in the NCAAs. He's going to bring us up to speed on what's happening with the men's volleyball program and the Save Stanford men's volleyball movement. Okay, he'll be there. Look at Buck. Look at the Buckster in his strapping young years. That's what my hair used to look like too. So me and Buck, it's just reminiscing. All right. Hey, that'll be a good episode on Friday because we'll be on location. And I want to get a little shout out to my son, Vaughn, and his lovely now wife, Devin. They got married on Zoom. We are in the COVID era. And so this weekend was going to be the bachelor golf weekend down at the Lawrence Welk Resort. So we're keeping it. And Steve Irvin, part of that group. So it all falls into place. And we'll be down there at the Lawrence Welk coming live Friday. Hey, there's been plenty of big timers. Okay, Lawrence Welk. Hey, what about next to real Neil? You ever seen that guy? That guy's unbelievable. You think he's diving deep into the work of Neil Diamond at that Lawrence Welk Theater. I wish he could be on the show, but he's not going to be there. All right. I'm telling you, that's worth a pilgrimage. All right. Moving from next to real Neil to the drought is over. We got Randy Rosenbloom back. Well, let's bring him on with a montage.
Now, if you thought that was ridiculous, now we get to the stuff that's sublime. Now, if you have children out there and you don't want them to watch it, I'm being serious for a moment. I really don't think you should. This is for the mature adult.
She says that she smokes just to keep her hands busy. The pace of her talking is making you dizzy.
And that is real gutsy.
Business, I think I should say, slow down, Arlene. You don't have to do it all at once. Relax, Arlene. You're young.
Missed again, but the rebound is good. So
Classic.
rightly so.
Life that must be quenched. The game just started, so don't get bent. Slow down, Arlene. Slow down. Well, she's almost.
All right, the Hall of Famer broadcaster with his own montage, Randy Rosenbloom. Hello, Randy.
Hello, Denny. I don't know how I follow my own montage. A lot of different faces, a lot of different looks over a lot of different years.
The beautiful thing about interviewing you is we can shoot from high school to college to pros to the Olympics. So we'll take the pros out of today's interview and just talk high school, college, and Olympics because you've been any and all of those places. But first, Randy, I promised that I would allow you to air any and all grievances as it relates to the East Bay 74-28 shootout. For those that are not familiar with that, as if there's anybody who's not familiar with it, we pitted in video pairings everybody that took the shot prior to their interview at this facility, the 74-28 studio, and we put them in a 12-team single elimination tournament, crowning the eventual champion, Chris Geeter McGee, the Laker broadcaster. He eventually won it, but you weren't so happy with what you perceived as perhaps not a fair playing field as you were eliminated in, I believe, the quarterfinals.
It was the quarterfinals to Mike Boley, and my shot was far superior, which bothered me. I should have won just on pure ability and just witnessing the shot itself. My shot was far superior, my rebound basket, than his rebound basket. So Boley, just on merit, had no right defeating me. The other thing that perturbed me is when my voters and my base started to vote en masse, I would take a lead. Suddenly, and I don't know how, Boley would overcome that. And it happened a few different times. It was back and forth. So I have said throughout this entire proceedings, I felt there was voter fraud. I know that he's close to you and your family, Boley. In fact, I think he's related. So I don't really trust the process. I felt that I was, really disowned by the tournament itself. I do appreciate what East Bay did. I think that's great that they put up the money for the charity, and I think that's phenomenal that McGee was able to win, and he was the deserving winner. But in terms of losing in the quarterfinals, that was a joke. I should have advanced.
Okay, one, you're acting as if we shouldn't have counted the mail-in votes because you got to count those. And then second, he brought Brent Barry. He brought Brent Barry, the only white fella to ever win a slam dunk championship in the NBA. He brought him to the table, and that was, I believe, the turning point when he came in. He retweeted. It's not supposed to be
a popularity contest, and that's what it turned into. We're talking about ability and making shots. It's the East Bay shootout. It's not the East Bay popularity contest.
Okay, you both missed your shot. Now, I'm going to give this to you. The way you palmed that ball and brought it strong to the basket was much different than the way Mike lollipopped his in. Let's look at both of them, and let's look at both of them real quick here.
Let's see. Randy's first?
Randy's first, yep.
Okay. Let's see. We'll go to Randy first.
First and foremost, it was a great pleasure to be entered into the East Bay shooting contest and to get by Craig, who has wooden ties, part of that wooden legacy in the opening round. I feel really very proud of that accomplishment. But moving forward, I'm going up against Mike Boley in the quarterfinals. I smell a rat here. Corruption could be on the forefront. Bags for Cash is his charity. What's that all about? That sounds like it's illegitimate to begin with. And then when you talk about Boley, he's the cousin of Denny Lennon, who is throwing this get-together. So I feel like early on I'm behind the eight ball. I am the underdog. I want to rally my base. They did a great job in the opening round. I'm going to need you in the next round. I do not trust the system. Mike Boley, I'm coming for you. Look out, even though you have the advantage of voter fraud.
First, I wanted to give you a little credit, Randy. You called that before your quarterfinal matchup against Mike Boley. So we wanted to show that first, just so we could show everybody, like, you smelled a rat, as you mentioned, and then you
hard to argue with my philosophy, Denny. I was right on. I knew it beforehand to this moment, and I'm still a little bitter over the whole situation. It took me somewhat of probably better than a week or two to get over it.
It's
I feel like I should have advanced to the semifinals. I've stated that numerous times.
I'm with you. Let's just take a look now at the shots back to back, so everybody gets a fair picture of this.
Okay.
All right. Okay. All right.
Denny, the only thing I'll say is, I was going to an event, so I was dressed to announce a basketball game later in the day. He was dressed in sweats, so he looked the part. But other than looking the part, his second shot barely crawled over the iron. Mine was so fluid. It was the offhand, the left hand as well.
I thought you dunked it at first glimpse when I watched your follow through. I thought you might have dunked it. It was so powerful. But then upon video review, I realized you banked it in. But let's look at that one now, Christine. You got that one?
Which one are you looking at?
Randy's shot.
I could have dunked it. I just didn't know if that was part of the tournament.
I only have the one.
Well, we saw it. We saw it on your tirade.
I'm gonna find it. I'll get
it. And so we'll get back to that if can. But when you brought that in with the left hand, I was like, wow, look at this. That guy just right. And as somebody mentioned in the stream on the Twitter vote, you narrated. You basically called the whole play-by-play all the way through.
That's my job. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's what I'm hired to do.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right. Good times. Good times there, Randy. Will you join again, though? Because I would require you to come in and do another in-depth interview.
Well, I want revenge. So do I want to come in and do it? Not really. But I want to come back and get what I rightfully deserve. I want to move further into the tournament. So I'll be back. I will not be in a good mood. It won't be called a happy hour when I'm there, but I'll be there.
All right. Fair enough, Randy. And then you have no problem with Geeter winning the whole thing. Chris McGee.
No, he made a good shot. He's young. He's talented. He's brash. He's good looking. Those are some of the reasons I don't like him.
Oh, good time.
No,
Randy,
Chris is a good guy.
You're part of high school, college, as mentioned, and obviously those jobs have dried up for you, which is a shame, but you're not the only one in that. The SoCal Prep report, I guess it's just, on ice until some kind of high school. We had Eric Sondheimer on explaining, California high school sports not really starting up until January. Right, just kind of your thoughts on high school athletics and the pause button that we've hit in California and what's going on in the country.
Well, it's really hard in some ways to take when you sit around and you realize that Utah played 51 high school football games last Thursday and Friday, and I'm sure they'll have a full complement of games again this week, and there'll be other states starting up, Florida, Texas, all the schools in those areas will probably get an opportunity to play prep football now in the fall, and we're going to have to wait until January. I've been a proponent for a long time of the LA City section where Birmingham won the city title last year. It returns Arliss Boardingham, who's a phenomenal football player, will be the best player. He's a defensive end linebacker, and he can receive the football on the offensive side of the ball. Arliss Boardingham will be the best player in the LA City section. So we're going to have to wait for him to play until January, knock on wood. Hopefully the numbers come down with the virus and our kids can get on the field. I'm concerned about our kids. Some of them are going to transfer away. Jake Garcia, who was the quarterback last year at Narbonne, was going to go to La Habra anyway after Narbonne had some difficulties. But instead of being in the city section or the southern section, Jake Garcia is now in Valdosta, Georgia, going to play for Valdosta High School. So he's moved out of the area, and I can see that some of the other stars might do the same. They may follow suit. So hopefully we can get the kids back on the field and we can have some prep football early in 2021, followed by other sports, girls volleyball, high school basketball for the boys and girls, and get everybody back involved and get everyone back on the same page.
One of the groups we stay in touch with are out of Ohio, Madison High School. There will be airing a series on their football program when we get in the heat of football season. But Ohio has reinstated high school football, and I just find it's so interesting, Randy, that you're going to have, in effect, the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals will be playing football. Ohio will have high school football, but the most storied program in the state, Ohio State, is sitting it out along with the Big Ten. That's it. That's kind of an interesting situation there.
Well, we're uneven all over the place on what's open and what's not. You know, why are hair salons so strict and they can't get open all the time, or gyms, and then you can walk into the market as long as you have a mask on and you're able to shop freely. So we're not certainly clear in society what can and cannot be done. And I think it's unfortunate. Ohio State's obviously the heart of the Big Ten and heart of the Big Ten country. And they just, they're bracketed with everyone else in the conference, and the conference elected not to play. I don't 100% agree with it. It is tougher to oversee college football because the more people involved. Even with the high school football team, certainly in the LA section, there's 30 to 40 kids on a team. Now in the southern section, the St. John Bosco or Mater Dei, they're going to have 75, 100 kids come out and play varsity football. But when you're talking about college football, they all have large rosters, and it's hard to follow all those kids around. But the points are well taken by the coaches. They're not concerned about what's on the field. They feel like they have it under control. They can control the game. They can control their kids. It's when they go outside their football environment. Well, even if there's no football, they're going to be outside their football environment. So the same dangers occur in the Big Ten, even if they're not playing football. Right. So I don't understand why you can't play. I'm one of these guys. I'm a proponent. We should let everybody play. Be very careful. I understand the coaches and the administration who are a little older, like Denny and Randy, have to be mighty careful, wear the mask, socially distance. But I think we should let our kids play, provided, of course, we check every time we can. I know testing isn't easy at the prep and college level, but I think it can be done, and I think we need to play sports. It's good for the minds, not only the kids that are playing, but for the general public who loves their sports and their community.
Randy, you one of the things I've always respected about you is I've called volleyball games with you, but I've listened to you call multiple sports, and you prepare just as diligently for a field hockey game as you do, for a lacrosse game as you would for a football game. And talk a little bit about the other sports and what you see on the horizon. Do you see a certain editing out, a cutting back on sports that are more expensive and aren't turning a revenue, especially at the collegiate level? If we're going to see football, why won't we see volleyball, tennis, and the other sports that are taking place in the fall?
Well, I noticed you're going to have a Stanford guest coming on in the next few weeks, and that says it all with Stanford cutting 11 sports. And, Mike Krzyzewski came out this week, the great coach at Duke, and said if we don't have the NCAA tournament in basketball again this year, we're going to have some real issues, and we could have cutbacks, and we will have cutbacks. So I think if college football is not going to happen, and the ACC and the Big 12 and even the Southeastern Conference suddenly pull the plug and the revenue is gone from there, and for whatever reason we can't get college basketball off the ground, we're going to see a lot of sports go by the board. And if they're not making a profit, they're certainly could have the axe at any university. These universities cut it very close. There's lots of money they make, but they spend a lot of money on their facilities and on their program, and so they're cutting it very close. And so if you lose another football season, then you combine the basketball season to go with it. Unfortunately, you're going to see women's volleyball and soccer and crew and some of these other sports that I've had the delight to call over the years probably go away in the short time, in the next 2 to 5 years, before we can bring everything back. It would be very difficult, as you know. Once you lose a sport, it's tougher to bring it back. It's happened before. They do bring sports back. But once you cut a sport, it's not easy to bring it all the way back.
I think something. People know what it is about sports that bring a community together, but they don't always put their finger on it. But even like a sport you mentioned, like rowing, I mean, that's one of your most famous calls. Was at the Olympic Games. I think you called for the men's rowing team, won the gold. When you're like, the drought is over, that's one of your like famous calls out there. But like if rowing starts to get pulled back at these colleges, that also has its own community that rallies around that at a college. And then if you pull out the other sports that are like that, pretty soon it just seems like the next that's going to be on the list are the bigger sports, especially some that, like volleyball, that are mainstreamed, but they're not really turning a dollar. I just feel like this is going to slowly get to the point where we have a few women's sports so that we can have football.
I think you're right on. The one thing I would disagree, I don't know that it's going to be slowly. I believe if, again, we do not have college football, and if we lose that NCAA basketball tournament at that level, they're going to lose so much revenue. It's going to be quickly. We're going to lose sports. We're going to lose coaches. They're going to get cut, with these huge salaries. They're going to get cut back. Some of them are taking salary cuts already. But you're going to see that throughout college football, college sports in general, if indeed they don't play coming up early next year, and certainly some of these conferences in the fall.
Randy, last thing I want to cover with you is the Olympics. You've, if I'm not mistaken, you were a PA announcer in '84, and then on air calling some fun stuff in the subsequent years. I recently ran into Carl Hinkle, asked him if he knew who the play-by-play guy was on that most famous beach volleyball game ever played. He didn't know, Randy. He was playing, of course, and he can't bear to look at it since. But that said, Randy,
that's the story of my life, Denny, that they don't know that it was me.
What do you see coming down with the Olympics? Obviously, Tokyo has already invested so many billions of dollars into hosting the events this past summer. They're going to put it off till this summer, and even, summer 2021, even that is questionable, but maybe we'll have figured out enough of the sports and how to administrate them with the temperature checks, the masks, the distancing, and like that. We get some semblance of the Olympics. I don't know. What are you hearing?
I'm hearing if they don't do it in 2021, it's going to be put aside for a few years, so that it's do or die for Japan in 2021. It's a difficult undertaking, as we all know, to bring in athletes from some 200 countries from around the world and this world as it is now. I just think it's tough. I would say it's maybe 50-50 that we get the Olympics in 21. I'm rooting for it. Again, some of my greatest memories, and in fact, probably my greatest memories in calling sports come from the Olympic Games, come from that Carl Hinkle volleyball match that he talked about against Castro and company. Talking about, the United States men winning after 40 years an Olympic gold medal and rowing in Athens, Greece. And some of the great matches I was able to call in Barcelona, Spain, and volleyball indoors was I had, I believe, 8 5-set matches I called in the Olympics in Barcelona. It would be a shame for the Olympics to go away. It'd be a shame, obviously, for all those athletes who put in the great time and the effort and chisel themselves into the condition they need to go and try to get not only just a medal, but to represent their country the best they can. But right now, I think it's 50-50 that they can pull that off. And I hope they do, because it obviously would be a very costly proposition if they have to pull the plug in the Olympic Games.
No doubt about it. Randy, two quick things before I let you go. One, you look good. I know you've been sticking to your chicken diet. Any updates on the inhaling of chicken?
It's gone to salmon and chicken. Salmon is on the docket again. It's on the menu again tonight.
Okay.
I have lost, since I've seen you, I've lost 35 pounds. The last time I was weighed, I was 2 pounds under my Weight Watchers goal weight. So I have not been this thin since high school. In fact, even before high school, junior high school. So I feel good. I'm trying to keep in shape. Obviously, when you don't have work, you have to occupy your time. I've walked at least 3.5 miles now every single day, have not missed a day for the last 5 months. So I feel good. I'm staying in shape, and I'm ready to go once sports comes back.
Especially that East Bay shootout. You got some reckoning. There's some reckoning to be had.
Well, we're not going to talk. I'm not going to give you any smack on it. I want to come back to East Bay. I'm not happy about the entire proposition, and I will get to at least the semifinals the next go around.
And last thing, Randy, I know you've been shopping a documentary on your uncle, the great Slapsie Maxie. He was the world boxing champion welterweight.
Light heavyweight, 1929, 1934. It's not just a documentary, although we have that on the docket as well, but it's a feature film. The script is out there. We're searching for funding right now. We are going to a certain place where we think we got a chance to get the necessary dollars. Won't say who it is. We're waiting on that. That'll probably take a few weeks. But if that happens, and if this individual and his group get behind it, I think then we have a realistic chance to get this thing made in the next year or two.
That's not East Bay, is it? Because that would be poaching.
East Bay will be my secondary funding group.
The last time I think you were on the show, I had you on with my cousin who had put out the documentary Long Gone Summer about Mark McGuire and Jose Canseco, Will Lennon, and you got a chance to pitch this. Okay. So that said, Sammy Sosa?
You said Jose Canseco.
Sammy Sosa and not Jose. That's why I got a producer. Okay. But Randy, did he give you a call back after you?
No, he was long gone. I did not hear from him at all.
Let's play that teaser.
Okay.
Let's play that teaser so everybody gets an idea what we're talking about here.
Adolf Hitler, FDR, Ronald Reagan, the Cinderella Man, Joe Louis, Muhammad Ali, Bugsy Siegel, Al Capone, Mickey Cohen, Clark Gable, Humphrey Bogart, Cary Grant, Clara Bow, Carol Lombard, Lucille Ball, The Rat Pack, Bob Hope, Jackie Gleason, The Club, Common Denominator, Slapsie Maxie Rosenbloom. The most entertaining, compelling, true story you've never heard or seen.
If anybody's going to keep this alive, it's me, Randy.
I appreciate that, Denny. He had an incredible run, an incredible life, and it's a story that needs to be told.
It'll get done, buddy. It'll get done. Randy, love having you on the show.
Thanks, Denny. Always a pleasure, and I will be back for East Bay.
I love it, buddy. All right, we'll see you, Randy. Oh my, he's just. I got big plans for Randy. All right. That said, now we guess who showed up. Yeah, you know what? If you were on this guy's volleyball team and you showed up late for practice, do you know what would have happened? Oh my God. Anyways, let's look at his walk-up film.
Now, here's a bit of public information left over from the 50s.
By the name of Bert, and Bert the turtle was very alert. When danger threatened him, he never got hurt. He knew just what to do. He ducked and covered, ducked and covered. He did what we all must learn to do. You and you and you and you to do. He ducked and covered, ducked and covered.
He's got a storied history of volleyball, including a head coaching position at Auburn University. Let's bring him in. Dub-Bands. Hello, Wade.
Hey, how's it going, Denny?
Good. Are you still intrigued by your walk-up film?
Yeah, always.
Mm-hmm.
Always. I think it paints the correct picture, especially the ending.
Wade.
Hiroshima.
I always got to remind everybody that you parlayed your position at Auburn into other very successful coaching jobs. Your team's always qualified for postseason play, and now you're a club director in volleyball in Oregon, but you're also an all-around sports correspondent for Sports Stories with Denny Lennon.
Well, that's my number one. Number two is volleyball.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So I purposely wanted to bring you in as an SEC coach or former SEC coach to talk a little bit about the religion that is football down south, and your thoughts on them moving forward while other conferences are not.
I think it's pretty typical, of the SEC. I think you look at the SEC and probably now the ACC as major corporations. So if you look at them like, big oil or, things like that of that size, you're gonna find out that those guys keep on going regardless of, what the consequences are. So, they've got the backing, of the locals. They need to make the money. They want to make the money, and they're going to play at all cost.
How do you feel like their view on volleyball and how that fits into the equation? Because I know, the SEC, they come strong in the NCAAs. They put some big teams out there. Do they have the same kind of passion for women's sports and in particular volleyball? In that arena? I'll give you an example. Texas, and their love of high school football, everybody knows this, right? But
Sure.
The way they produce and the way they come strong in indoor and beach volleyball now for girls is so impressive. And I'm wondering if it's the same kind of feeling you get, in and around the Auburn area and the SEC.
Well, Florida's always been kind of the leading team out of the SEC for years. Kentucky, a legit top 10 team. But to tell you the flat out truth, they couldn't give a dang. The administration, at all those schools, barely know the name of the head coach.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I would say the same at Texas. Texas has won national championships, and I'll give you a prime example. Auburn's swimming and diving team won 3 or 4 national championships, like back to back to back to back. High level Olympic people on their team winning gold medals from many different countries. And he was an Aussie who was the head coach when I was there, and he was an ex-Olympian. He was actually on the, I don't know if people remember the little banjo playing thing when they won the Aussies won the relay. I think it was like 4x4 100, relay in swimming, which the U.S. had dominated. Well, the Aussies came through and won it that year in the Olympics. U.S. had been kind of, throwing some attitude out verbally in the papers prior. And so after the Aussies won, this head coach at Auburn was part of that team. He was the guy strumming the banjo, kind of mocking the U.S. team after the Aussies won. But anyway, he lived across the street, and he would go in and talk to the administration. These are national championship winners. And he just told me, men's and women's, by the way, not just women's. And he would tell me, he would ask for something minor, and he would just get laughed at. So, bottom line is those are frivolous sports to the administrations. They really, they don't really bring any money to the table. Money talks, everything else walks. Bottom line.
One thing I found was really interesting when I went and visited you while you're the Auburn women's coach, and you got us tickets for LSU at Auburn football.
Yep.
And as the game came to conclusion, LSU was going to win. And I said to you, hey, let's go get a beer after. And you said, no, town shuts down. Like, shut it down. Like they punish everybody for losing. And I thought, what the heck?
Yeah, no question. Well, if you win, it's a pretty good time.
I'll bet.
On the side, so it's just funny. I mean, the bottom line is it's a religion. So with that comes some fanatical kind of playback from what happens. If you're a quarterback at that school and you don't get the job done, you're going to get heckled and hassled all through the week in class. You're going to get mocked and beaten up, verbally. It's difficult, man. Those kids go through, a real tough time, I think, throughout school in that type of environment, because it's win or lose at all cost. You can see that in many different avenues. I mean, you've got at Auburn, the Alabama dude came by and poisoned the tree.
Yeah.
The Auburn people celebrate on and throw the toilet paper, the deal. It's called Toomer's Corner, which is kind of a neat little old school drugstore that's there. It's so you've got a lot. I mean, it's almost like the Civil War. I mean, you got old blood, going into these things from many generations, which is on one side it's the greatest, neatest thing you could ever be around.
Yeah. Anybody
Anybody who's a competitor eats it up.
Tiger walk is unreal.
Absolutely enjoyed my time there in that capacity. But from the regards of getting backing, even if you're winning, like we had made history there. Just our team the year prior, we had a big time recruiting class coming in, and you go ask for a little something because you're executing at a high level. I mean, in my opinion, we're going to be top 15. That following year from probably RPI. When I got there, like 250, 290 RPI, up to top 15 in 3 years. And the feeling of the whole thing was, hey, good job, but we don't need to hear from you. And definitely don't ruffle any feathers because, that's not your area. So
and they showed you the door just because you played the banjo a little bit?
No. It's always a combination of things. One thing with that was my boss, and I did not see eye to eye.
I like that we're there. Let's. Okay, what happened, Benz?
Yeah.
Benz, what happened? Come on.
So
you're right.
Bottom line is, I'll give you a story. If you want a story, I'll give you a story.
We love the
story. Okay, so we were at Alabama. We were on the fringe cut of getting an at-large bid. We had to win out. We were on the road. We had Alabama and Georgia both on the road. Obviously, the Alabama-Auburn game in any sport is very big, very crowded, and difficult to win. So we had a good team, and Alabama. They always have strong athletes. That match ends up going to 5. We're stressing, a little bit because if we lose, we're out probably, and we'd come a long way. So anyway, I put a kid in that, hadn't played, a middle for us that hadn't played, at all. We rolled the dice, with this kid, and this kid came through big time, had a couple blocks for us, couple kills. We ended up winning 15-13 in the 5th. We're rolling out of Alabama. We go to Georgia. It's all down to the Georgia match. We're practicing the day before. And I'm just watching my players just absolutely take it non-seriously in any form, in kind of the preamble to our practice and the beginning of our practice. So I line them all up on the end line, and I go one by one with everybody just standing there, and the coaches all standing there. And I basically just lay out reality to every player that's there. Some of the players, deserve praise, got praise. Players that were not near to the focus that we needed them to be, considering the situation that we were just about ready to make, which was history, they got told their deal as well. And yes, there was potentially a few slurred 4-letter words. But life is life, and that's how we roll. So that was a straight up deal. But I'll give you the really funny thing about the story is is the kid who I probably got into the most during that thing. The match, we're up 2-1 in the match. We're cruising in game 4, like 16-8. I mean, we're dominating this match.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Georgia starts playing out of their mind. We take a little chill pill. They win game 4 after we're completely dominating. All the gas is out of us. They're fired up. We're feeling the pressure. The kid that I had kind of gotten on, we were in a serving drill, and she couldn't put a ball like wherever it needed to be if her life depended on it. Obviously, her focus was somewhere else. I got into her, and 5th game, she goes back to the service line, serves 8 straight points for us. We win that match, go to the NCAAs. So it's a very interesting concept where people will look at it and say, how could you ever do that? Like right before the match, you're totally rolling the dice, you're risking winning. You know, these kids could be, you know, on the other side of, you know, confidence level, blah, blah, blah. Well, that wasn't the case, was it?
No. Now, I got a couple questions. First, when chastising your team in that manner, did you refer to yourself in the third person? Because I love when you do that.
Probably.
Nice. Okay. So now it's all right, because it's as if you're removed from the situation. You're like, okay.
Well,
and then second did that lay the groundwork?
If you talk to any of my players over the history, I think they will all say, if he fumbles, he will admit to it. No question.
So did that lay the groundwork for them to have reason to say, there's the door?
You know, the kids that, you know, couldn't hang with that kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
And when my, you know, falling out with my administrator based on the fact that I didn't think he backed our team, you know, kind of like what you're saying at all, even though we were mixing it up, making history, doing all these things. He didn't even show up, you know, at our television NCAA 64, you know, who's getting in deal, that kind of thing. You know, and I'm the type of guy that's going to give him a phone call right after that and say, totally unacceptable. It was not, you know, a good look for you as an administrator, not being, you know, around the kids that you are supposed to be backing in a historic moment and a very exciting moment.
And here's something, as we play a little background SEC football highlights, because that always gets good ratings. But here's the thing, right? It's not as if those football coaches aren't using colorful language to motivate their players, you know, and so you cannot suddenly draw the gender line between the two. To me, you have to have if there's love and trust both in football and in volleyball, but you're speaking the truth, there it may come in a poorly wrapped present, but the fact of the matter is, truth is truth.
You know, we all grow up, you know, behind, you know, in our houses with our parents trying to protect us. But at the same time, the street's the street. We all live it. All of our kids see it. All of our kids use colorful words, you know, here and there. It's not their first rodeo. And I'm not condoning the situation. I'm just saying that, you know, at prime moments, in my opinion, you know, it's do what you need to do. And, you know, just so long as it doesn't, you know, affect somebody, I think in the long term, which I don't believe, you know, those types of situations do. I think they're just a little bit of a shock, you know, for a second. And that's really the concept of it. It's like the goal was to shock you back into reality. And, you know, and she did.
Will you, if you're working as a Sports Stories with Denny Lennon correspondent and you come to the media gate and you show your official media pass from our media organization, if they deny entry, 1, will you refer to yourself in the third person? And 2, will you drop a few choice words on them until you get through that gate?
Both are true for sure. But the bottom line is I will get in.
Yes, I know that about you. I know that about you now.
Whatever works to actually get me from A to B,
that's
what is going to be used.
That's why you're on Team SSDL. Hey, we talked about Texas, and you said, maybe they don't know who the volleyball coach is. Who's the volleyball coach at Texas women's?
Jared Elliott.
Damn right. Who played in the VBC? Jared Elliott, baby. He made either the finals or something, and I saw him. I was at Final Four indoor, and I think they're at finals. They made the championship game, and I saw him in between at the All-American banquet. He's got a bunch of people around him that are asking him all these questions and stuff. And I come by, and he makes eye contact with me, and I'm like, he goes, "Things were a little simpler in your backyard." I go,
that's great.
They were a little different.
He does a great job.
Yeah, he is doing a great job there. No doubt about it.
There's no athletes in Texas, though.
No, they got nothing.
It's a pretty hard recruit, let me tell you.
You should see what they're bringing to both of the beach. It's unreal. Like they're training. They are training, and they're coming strong. It's really impressive the way they have gone after that sport. All right. Any final thoughts, Benz? Where's your next journey to as far as any athletics?
Well, I'm going surfing in Mexico tomorrow. Actually, I'm going to Cabo, which will be fun. Just with all the shutdowns, my goal was to take my son to the Gonzaga basketball game in Orlando, and then we were going to take a road trip from there in the car to where we lived in Destin, Florida, in Oregon, was going to be tipping off against Baylor. So that was our hoops plan, which was going to be late November. Now we're going to have to see. I just saw that Gonzaga picked up Baylor in a non-conference. All the non-conference got shuffled around or shut down. But I saw that Gonzaga picked up Baylor. That's number 1, number 2 preseason. So depending on where that's played, I'm going to try to get to that.
That'll be the thing. That's something to shoot for. Hopefully the wall is built in such a manner that you'll be able to social distance in Mexico. Or hopefully they actually let you in, because we don't have such a good reputation these days. But that said, you be safe, enjoy yourself, because we're looking forward to your next report.
If they don't let me in, I think I'm going to find a way.
You throw the card. You throw the SSDL card. You
There
do
we
it.
go.
All right,
Sounds
Benz.
I heard next.
Take care, guys. Yep.
Good
Enjoy.
to see you, buddy. All right. The Benz kills me. He kills me. So does Randy. The drought is over. We had Randy on. Okay. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. So like I said, 1 here. Next time you'll see me, that's right, Lawrence Welk Resort. Look up Lawrence Welk. Do your homework. He's an American. You'll see. Yep, those champagne bubbles. All right. Hey, big ups to my boy, the box cobbler. Always proud of what he provides the show. Look, he thinks he's bigger than the guest, but he might be. So that's my boy, the box cobbler, and I think we did it.
You hit the bottom of the notes. Good job.
Slapsie Maxie. I'm out.
Okay, Sports Stories with Denny Lennon comes on at 5 on YouTube. Don't forget. And don't you cut me out. Woo! I just cut one. Sports Stories with Denny Lennon is supported by the AAU. Find a local event and join at aausports.org. And remember, you can catch your favorite amateur sports live stream, replays, and highlights at ballertv.com. Sports Stories, along with East Bay, supports the Heroes Movement, a nonprofit that bridges the gap from mental or physical therapy to getting strong again through strength and conditioning workouts. This free service is available for any veteran of the United States Armed Forces. Visit heroesmovementusa.org for more information. Sports Stories, along with thousands of people across the country, also supports the My Stuff Bags Foundation, a nonprofit that provides traumatized children with new belongings and new hope. Learn more at mystuffbags.org. Sports Stories with Denny Lennon is a production of Sports Stories, Inc. and is available on Apple Podcasts and YouTube or wherever you listen and watch. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and give us a review. It really helps spread the word. You can find all our social media links, archives, and other info on our website at sportsstoriespodcast.com. Special thanks to the John R. Wooden Course and Wooden's wisdom. Original music for Sports Stories is courtesy of Lennon Music Productions. Original images by Sienna Lennon Photography. Sports Stories is produced by Christine Jimbo and Marley Rice. Sports Stories is edited by Bob McCall. Additional staff include Ray Castro, Theresa Dahlin, Jake Downey, Carlos Haro, and Buck Magic Lennon. Kick it out, Buck!
Yeah, kick it out. Kick it out. Yeah, buddy. Way to kick it out. Good job.